Zohran Mamdani, Curtis Lewa, and Andrew Cuomo just had their very first New York City mayoral debate. And the $1 million question is, what promises were made and will these promises be upheld? Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the very first New York City mayoral debate of this election cycle, featuring Zohran Mamdani, the super far leftist, Andrew Cuomo, kind of the normie, center of the road leftist, and Curtis Lewa, the conservative. Now, before we even get into any of the videos, which I will have in the box if you want to see in here without me, Curtis Lewa is my personal favorite. I'm a conservative. He's a conservative. He's a down-to-earth kind of guy. I like Curtis Lewa a lot. However, I know it's New York City, and Curtis Lewa was going to be a long shot. Andrew Cuomo, out of the three who are here, would probably be the best pick, although I think beyond all of them, Eric Adams would have been good to reelect, but that ain't going to happen because he's not in the race anymore. However, Zohran Mamdani is in the lead, and it's not even close. It's like an 88, 90, 95% chance of him winning. His ideas are so far left, it might be good that he gets elected because New York City will suffer, but only through the suffering will they learn that a guy like Zohran is not a good pick. Now, before I go any further, let's get into a few clips here. This is going to be the very start where Andrew Cuomo is saying, hey, Zohran, you've never had a job before, and this job might require a little bit of prior experience. Let's check it out.
He literally has never had a job. On his resume, it says he interned for his mother. This is not a job for a first-timer. Any day, you could have a hurricane, you have, God forbid, a 9/11, a health pandemic. If you don't know what you're doing, people could die.
Mr. Mamdani, you want to respond?
And if we have a health pandemic, then why would New Yorkers turn back to the governor who sent seniors to their death in nursing homes? That's the kind of experience that's on offer here today. What I don't have in experience, I make up for in integrity. And what you don't have in integrity, you could never make up for in experience.
He literally.
Okay, so there's a few things there. Now, some thought that the end from Zohran was good about the nursing home thing. But Zohran, my question to you would be, what would you have done in that situation? What would you have done in that situation? That's a $1 million question, and you didn't respond to what he said really directly. You've never had a job before, and you're 33 years old. I don't know about y'all, but I would not trust someone to become the mayor of the most important city and the most important country on planet Earth who has never had a job before. I'm just saying, Andrew Cuomo has a long history in politics. He's a lawyer. He's somebody that knows something. Although I'm not a big fan of Cuomo, he's much better qualified than Zohran, and it's not even close. I mean, we just got to be all the way real with it, okay? Now, let's check this out about how you're going to be tough on Trump.
I would make it clear to the president that I am willing to not only speak to him, but to work with him if it means delivering on lowering the cost of living for New Yorkers. That's something that he ran his presidential campaign on, and yet all he's been able to deliver thus far has been prosecuting his political enemies and trying to enact the largest deportation program in American history. And what distinguishes me from Andrew Cuomo is the fact that he has gotten on the phone with that same president, not asking him how to work together to help New Yorkers, or not telling him that he would refuse to back down to protect those New Yorkers, but instead asking him how to win this race. That's something I can do myself. I don't need the president's assistance for. And what I'd tell the president is if he ever wants to come for New Yorkers in the way that he has been, he's going to have to get through me as the next mayor of this city. I would make.
All right, big tough guy. So you're going to stop the deportations of illegal aliens. A lot of your constituents, or hopefully not constituents, a lot of your potential constituents in New York City do not like the migrants coming in illegally, committing crime, doing whatever they want to do. And they want President Trump, or anyone else for that matter, to aid in getting them out of not only New York City, but the entire country. Furthermore, you're talking about the largest program of deportation ever. Well, President Trump is nowhere near Barack Obama. Okay. And I don't think you're going to get on stage, Zohran Mamdani, and talk negatively about your Lord and Savior, Barack Hussein Obama. I don't think you'll do that. Okay. Let's keep on rocking and rolling here.
You've heard.
Now, one thing about Zohran is that he's a trust fund baby, never had a job before. His parents are wealthy. And him and his wife live in a rent-controlled apartment, which means that he is taking advantage of a thing that is meant for people that have lower income, although he has a lot of money from his parents and from whatever he does, speaking engagements or whatnot. Check this out.
You've heard it from Andrew Cuomo that the number one crisis in this city, the housing crisis, the answer is to evict my wife and I. He thinks you address this crisis by unleashing my landlord's ability to raise my rent. If you think that the problem in this city is that my rent is too low, vote for him. If you know the problem in this city is that your rent is too high, vote for me. You've heard it from...
See, the thing about it, you're trying to position yourself as a regular everyday person, a low-income person, when it's not the case. You are a rich person, trust fund, silver spoon, you got all of that. So why do you need the rent-controlled apartment? That should go to somebody that's less fortunate than you are. You're taking advantage of a rule of policy in New York City that allows you to stay in that place for cheaper, although you can afford more than that. You can afford more because you got the money. And if you don't, your mommy and daddy do. There's a video of him, I'll try to find it, maybe I'll put it in the box, where he said, you know what, I'm not really worried about losing work. I'm not really worried about not having a job because if I run out of money, my parents take care of me.
I worked until January and then I took time away from my job. And one of the major reasons I could do so was because I knew that if I ran out of my savings, my family would be able to support me.
That is the kind of guy we're talking about who could become the next mayor of New York City. God forbid.
But the question is,
now, he has a plan he has a promise that he's going to make all the buses free in New York. Now, if you ask me, that's a bad idea because all you're going to do is create a rolling homeless shelter, a rolling drug injection clinic. And people that ride the buses normally who pay now must share this space with these kind of people. Just because you ride the bus, maybe you're low income or whatever it is, does not mean you're also a crack smoker. But those two worlds will collide if what he says happens. Also, how are you going to pay for it? How much will that cost?
but the question is how you'll make them free.
We will fund the revenue that would have otherwise been brought in from fares. And that's something that we would do in partnership with Albany. And I've put forward two proposals. The first is to raise taxes on the top 1% of New Yorkers by 2%. That would raise $4 billion. The second is to raise the state's top corporate tax rate to match that of New Jersey, which would raise $5 billion.
But the question.
Okay, so we're going to raise taxes. And what would this rate be for a lot of these people he's talking about? What, 52%? That's your overall tax rate in New York City. So the majority of your income got to go to the state. And then some say, well, look, ABO, that's just the rich paying their fair share. What does it even mean, really? What is a fair share? The majority of your income, that's a fair share. So I'm going to work, do whatever I got to do. And most of my money goes to this guy and his people. What are they going to spend it on? Also, that's going to impact you if you're not super rich, because these companies make up the money that they got to spend some kind of way, which means cutting your pay and or increasing the cost of goods and services that they sell. So you're going to spend more money. You're going to have higher inflation, and you're going to ask yourself, what am I getting for this? Now, here is the Republican Curtis Lewa going at Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah, you think you're the toughest guy alive. But let me tell you something. You lost your own primary, right? You were rejected by your Democrats.
Why
and you have a
send the
difficult
National Guard?
understanding that what the term no is. You're not going to stand up to Donald Trump.
I agree with Curtis.
You're not going to stand.
Yeah,
well, you know, that was a little dig because, of course, Andrew Cuomo had some sexual harassment allegations, and there was a whole big thing about that. Might have been some settlements and some money spent on that situation. And he's making a good point because Cuomo did lose in the primary, but yet here he is on stage. How does that really work? It should just be Mamdani and Sliwa. Now, this was hilarious. The governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, endorsed Mamdani to become the next mayor. But then when they're all on stage and the moderator's asking, are you guys going to support Hochul? Nobody said yes.
Before Sally starts to ask you about schools, a show of hands, who supports Kathy Hochul for re-election?
It's a decision that should be made after this general election.
So no decision. Mr. Cuomo, you handpicked her as your lieutenant governor. No thought.
You have to know who's running.
Yeah. Okay. So.
And I would add that I do think that Kathy Hochul, our governor, has been doing a good job in not only
Do you
serving
support her
and
for re-election?
not only delivering for New Yorkers, but also standing up to Donald Trump.
Do you support her for re-election?
Then endorse her.
I'm focusing on November.
Why don't you endorse
and I
her?
appreciate her support
All right,
and I
thanks,
appreciate
candidates.
her work.
But you
Thanks,
don't endorse
candidates.
her.
How about a shout out for
right,
Lee
we're gonna
Stefanik to
turn to-
take out Kathy Hochul?
No.
So you have a
Okay.
Republican
All right.
Mayor Curtis,
right.
a Republican Governor
Thank you, gentlemen.
Stefanik,
Thank you.
like Giuliani
We want to talk
and
about
Pataki, who
schools.
saved this city.
We want to
and
talk about
state.
schools. Sally?
Right on. Hey, Curtis Lee, well, I agree with you 100%. That'd be great. Republican governor, Republican mayor for New York. That'd be fantastic. Is it realistic? I don't know. I hope and pray that it is, but I don't know. Okay. Let's keep on rocking and rolling here. Now, this one was pretty interesting. They asked all the candidates, had they ever bought anything from a cannabis shop, from a weed store?
Have you ever purchased anything in a cannabis shop? And if so, what did you buy, Mr. Mamdani?
I have. I have purchased marijuana at a legal cannabis shop.
Okay. Mr. Cuomo?
No.
Mr. Sliwa?
When I was shot 5 times, I've had Crohn's disease. I did use medical marijuana. Yes.
Okay.
Now, I believe Curtis Sliwa. I think he's very honest, probably the only honest guy on stage. I believe Cuomo when he said no directly, because he's not that kind of guy to even really be going to a weed shop. And Mamdani, I'm not quite sure I buy that he went there. I think he's just trying to be cool, but maybe I'm wrong. Now, there's more from the debate. I'll link to the full thing in the box. But as I close, I want to say this. Shout out to Curtis Sliwa. I hope that you win, sir. I hope that you're able to succeed, but it's New York. So realistically, it's looking like Zohran's going to win. He's the worst candidate they could actually select. He's very well spoken, sharp, all this and that, but he's the worst. We're talking about ideas. But again, New York City will have to suffer, and then they'll realize how better of a choice he actually is. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your opinion about the New York City mayoral debate? Who do you think did the best? Zohran Mamdani, Andrew Cuomo, Curtis Sliwa, whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I like Curtis Sliwa. If I lived in New York, I would vote for him, but I would not be very optimistic because I'd be surrounded by a bunch of these leftists who love a Zohran, who love this Santa Claus raising taxes. They don't really understand what's going to happen until it happens. That's why it's got to happen, so they can learn. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.